strengthened relations on the path of partnership and development.
Welcome back, and to shed more light on the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Egypt, we're delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumy, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you, sir? Ambassador Bayoumy, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi held talks with the visiting U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. How do you see the significance of Blinken's visit to Egypt, and what were the main topics of discussion today?
It is a continuous effort by Egypt in order to set peace in our area, and we are really in the middle of a big problem in the Middle East. And we are afraid that the war will be escalated in other fronts also. So Blinken is here in order to coordinate with Egypt the position, how we can face the escalation, how we can stop more fronts of war, because I think we advised Iran to take a wise reaction for the killing of the chief of Hamas on its land, and I see that the Iranian diplomacy is playing very important role also, and they do not escalate yet. And then we have this incident and the aggression yesterday on the leaders of some Lebanese leaders. The area is really engaged with very complicated war, and I do not see any escape here, because we have a government in Israel where its head cannot stop the war, because stopping the war, it means that he will be asked to be tried and to be put in jail in his own country. Mind you that the International Court of Justice is asking for his head also, and so on. So facing this, we have to consult always with the United States, with Qatar, with Arab states, with the Islamic states also, and this is necessary. But I warn our audience not to expect a quick settlement for the problem, and we have to prepare ourselves for very long battle with Israel along the coming days, months, and years even.
Indeed, sir. A joint press conference also took place between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati. Several topics were discussed and tackled during the press conference, among which was the current situation in Gaza, reaching a ceasefire in Gaza, and the hostages deal. Also, other topics were discussed, among which was economic cooperation between Egypt and the United States, in addition to cooperation in different fields, including energy, education, opening U.S. universities here in Egypt. How do you assess the topics that were discussed during the press conference?
Thank God that we still have very good relations with the United States. We succeeded to keep it always up to the level. And it's not a secret that the United States of America is one of our main partners, whether in trade, in investment, in development assistance, also in education, as you mentioned. And the cooperation is continuing since years and years. Since Gamal Abdel Nasser, even, because the relation between Gamal Abdel Nasser and President Eisenhower or President Kennedy was good. Then Sadat made another big leap during his time with the relation with President Carter. Now we have direct relation between our president and President Biden of the United States, and here we have the State Secretary coming to discuss. One file is our relation, which is, I see, in a good position, but the real problem is the state of the Middle East, security. We are threatened by having a war around us, that the Palestinians are always threatened, and they are dying of hunger, dying with the lack of medicine, dying with the killing process of Israel. And even the friends of Israel do not see that this will lead Israel to anywhere. A country with very escalating war with Syria, with Lebanon, with the Palestinians, they are not in a very good relations with neither Jordan or Egypt. What is the future for a country like that in the coming 10, 20 years? So that's what we are discussing with our guest, Secretary of State Blinken.
Indeed. Sir, Minister Abdel-Ati said a strategic dialogue was held between both sides in which they agreed to launch a joint action group in each field. If you would like to elaborate.
Yes, this is good because the details are very important to keep the relation in good shape. I am sure that also we have very active businessman community, whether in the Egyptian American Chamber of Commerce. They are one of the very active chambers in our country. And they are doing their best to keep the relation up to the high level. And of course, establishing groups to tackle investment, to tackle trade, to tackle education, to tackle human relations. It is very important. And I think Egypt is enjoying this support from the United States. This on the positive side. On the other side, we are nowhere in the peace process in the Middle East and in Gaza especially.
Also among the topics discussed at the press conference was the current situation in Sudan. What's your take on that, sir?
We are very worried because all our borders are not in good health. Here you have what you have in Palestine and Gaza. On our western border, the Libya is also divided, and there are plenty of parties are playing very negative role. In Sudan, which was a part of Egypt, and Egypt was a part of Sudan, we were one country up to the 60s, and now in a country where it is divided, we always ask the army to take power. Unfortunately, in Sudan, the army cannot take power because the army itself is divided in different parties. So Sudan is very dangerous, and we shall give it whatever it takes to help our Sudanese brothers in order to come back to order and peace relation between all the parties and the families in Sudan.
Sir, with the tensions escalating between Israel and Lebanon, Egypt is advocating to stop further escalation. How do you see the role of Egypt in this regard?
Yes, of course, we have direct contacts with Lebanon, and of course we give good advice, and it's usual, and it's always that the Lebanese, like Egypt and its policies, and always we have very, very good relation all the time. So I think Egypt is one of the best countries who can give good advice to our brothers in Lebanon. Mind you that Lebanon itself, it has its internal problem that they are divided and they do not have president since more than 2 years. So we have in Lebanon two threatening problems. One, the aggression of Israel. The second is the division among the parties and the families in Lebanon.
Egypt has long played a very crucial role with regard to mediating between Palestine and Israel. Now, how do you see the significance of the strategic dialogue influencing these mediation efforts?
We are doing our best, but we always say in order to play you should have two parties. We do not have a partner in Israel which is listening to us or seeking peace. The Prime Minister of Israel knows quite well that if the war stops, this will mean that he will be asked by his own justice to go to jail. He is asked for the Israeli justice. Mind you also of the International Court of the International Criminal Court is asking to arrest him. So one man and the head of the state of or the council, Ministers' Council in Israel, he personally does not have any interest to stop the war. On the contrary, his own interest is to continue the war in order to keep himself out of jail. How we can deal with this? Meanwhile, and I want this to be clear to our public opinion, that we keep our relations with Israel. We have very strong relations and direct contacts between Egypt and Israel, whether on the diplomatic level or the security level, in order to stop this killing process and in order to keep the victims as less as we can, although it's exceeding the normal imagination that now we have more than 40,000 victims. Most of them, 70%, are children, women, and unarmed men. Really shame on the leader who decided to do that.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Sir, recent discussions between the U.S., Egypt, and other regional actors in this regard have faced a lot of obstacles, particularly with the demands of both sides, Israel and Hamas. From your perspective, what are the main challenges that needs to be overcome to reach a ceasefire deal in Gaza?
We have this problem between Israel and the Palestinians, represented by Hamas. But we have our internal problem also, that Hamas itself, it is not a legal leader of Gaza. They are there without any election, and they are not abiding to the PLO as the only representative of the Palestinian people. And so we have to deal with this. Hamas is not legally acting, same time that they are victims of the Israeli aggression. Really, I do not happy with the situation. I do not know how the Egyptian diplomacy is dealing with this. We have to protect the Palestinians, but we have to tell Hamas to stop making these problems within the Palestinian front, because it is dividing the Palestinian front also.
Well, I would like to thank you so much, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumy, former assistant to the foreign minister. Many thanks for your insights, sir. And dear viewers, now we go to a short break and we'll be right back.